Hey there to all my friends on YouTube. I am so incredibly excited that you're here. Now, listen, when you're learning to do something new, a lot of times you'll have mistakes or little hiccups along the way. And that's what happened with my first couple YouTube videos. And instead of taking them down and holding them back and not giving you the really incredible information that is in them, I decided that, you know what, it's better to be transparent. I want you to know that part of the process of being human, learning, growing, and doing something new is it doesn't go perfect sometimes. It really doesn't. And that's okay. Embracing where you're missing it, where you're learning, and where you're growing helps really inspire other people to stretch themselves as well, even when it's not going perfect. It took me years to overcome my perfectionist tendencies. And I have to tell you that even a year ago, I would have delayed the launch and I would have re recorded this content. But honestly, at this point, I know how much it will help you. And I kind of think it might help you to know that nobody's getting it perfect all the time. It's just not possible. So enjoy the videos, enjoy the content, and just know that we are fixing this on our end so you can look forward to much better video quality in the future. Bye, everyone. Hey, y'all. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the five biggest mistakes I made as a mom that you are probably making too, especially if you practice gentle parenting. So, these are some really common generational curses that we're very frequently not aware of that we're passing on to our kids. And what I have experienced or discovered in working with a lot of different people is that we are universally doing this most frequently when we're really committed to being incredible, amazing parents and breaking those generational curses. And so that means that a lot of people who are practicing attachment parenting and gentle parenting are actually perpetuating these particular curses, making these specific mistakes. I know we're all trying to get it right. It's the most important work, but we just can't help ourselves, right? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I have five kids, as many of you know, and I have two granddaughters now. And a lot of this I really discovered as I watched my daughters parent. Now, first and foremost, I have to say that both of my daughters are amazing moms. I'm incredibly supportive of them. They are both gentle parenting parents. They are absolutely committed to their children's physical and emotional well being and development. And they are amazing. But I see in them these particular mistakes that I made because I realized that I taught them certain things about motherhood that really are not actually the most positive things. And having two granddaughters who may be mothers themselves, I can absolutely see this pattern continuing. So, I want to talk about that and tell you a little bit more about what you can do to mitigate these things in your own family. So, number one is that I am way too stoic. So, as a parent, as a child, I felt really burdened by my parents' emotional stuff. Okay. I lived in a pretty volatile household and I felt very responsible for everyone else's feelings. I never wanted my children to feel responsible for my feelings. I never wanted them to feel like they had to tiptoe around me or they had to be careful about hurting my feelings or upsetting me. And because of that, I hid my feelings from my kids, meaning basically entirely. So my children didn't know oftentimes if I was struggling with something. I have some pretty significant mental health issues. My children did not know that growing up at all. And so it was really kept very private. In addition to that, because of how overwhelming this was in my childhood, for many, many years, I very much avoided dealing with or processing or experiencing my own feelings. And it took many years of therapy for me to finally begin to feel safe in a space where I could experience my feelings, let alone share them with other people in general. For this reason, I really was not able to model to my children a healthy way of managing feelings, right? Of managing emotions. For this reason, in a lot of ways, I taught my kids that as a parent or as a role model, it's really important for you to hide your feelings, right? To not have your kids have that experience. I very much now feel like it would have been in everyone's benefit to model healthy navigation of feelings, to navigate, yes, I'm sad, and that is safe. It's okay to be sad sometimes. And here's what I'm doing to take care of myself better. And it's okay to have feelings that are sometimes inconvenient or uncomfortable for other people, and you can do that safely without burdening people with those feelings. So if I had it to do over again, I would be much more honest about how I'm feeling. I would talk more about how those feelings present in my body or in my experience. I would talk more about things that I need that I can do for myself, my own personal ability to cope with my feelings. And I would talk about how these feelings are not permanent. Even when they're uncomfortable, they're not permanent. And these are some healthy ways that I can be kind and gentle and patient with myself through this process. And side note, no one else is responsible for my feelings, but it is okay for me to take care of myself when I'm struggling emotionally. So that's something I would definitely have done differently. The generational curse of either way, either because you are making your children responsible for your feelings or you're not acknowledging their feelings, making it difficult for them to manage their own feelings as adults is very real, but also not modeling well how you cope with your own feelings is a very, very prevalent way to hinder your kids from being able to do that themselves, right? So we really need to model that to them, not by bottling up and being so, stoic and I'm just gonna, your feelings are the only feelings that matter in this house. And so I tended to take more that approach. And some of that was just because I struggled to cope with my own feelings, but some of it was because I genuinely didn't want to burden my kids. So, in a lot of ways, I went to the opposite extreme, right? And we always want to watch those extremes. Number two is going to probably sound really funny. But because of the amount of trauma I went through in my own family and in my environment as a young person, it was very important to me to protect my children. And yes, I know it's important to everyone to protect their children, but finding the line of where do I need to support my children protecting themselves? Where do I need to let my children have the experience and deal with the consequences? Was very, very hard for me. And so I very much felt the need to control many of the factors in my kids' life and lives, even though you may trust your children, and I very much trusted my children, you know that the world is a scary place. There are things that you know about the world that your child may not. And you can't go to war with your child to protect them from seeing that. And I know that I did that a lot with my kids, especially when they were teenagers, because kids, when they're teenagers, tend to be, because of different brain development things going on, they are very impulsive. They think that bad things can't happen to them. They sometimes make rash choices, and you can see it from the outside. And having been there, like this is going nowhere good, right? But trying to control it, for example, trying to forbid certain relationships, trying to prevent certain things from happening. And I understand that there are a lot of gentle parents of young children watching this right now who are like, that will never happen because I will trust my child and my child will trust me. But it's very important to know that in teen years, children need to create much more autonomy and independence and separation from you. In addition, their brains are in a state of development that they're not thinking the most logically, and they are very, very susceptible to outside inputs from friends, from social media, from TV and movies. And so they start making some decisions or trying to navigate things from a perspective that's very separate from whatever you may have already shown them. Some of those choices may not be the best ones, right? Some of those choices will make you want to pull them in, okay? But they're not toddlers, and you can't do that anymore. And really wanting to protect my children in some ways when they were teenagers put me at odds with them. And I know in some cases, even though I was always in their corner, I always believed in them. I always believed the best in them. I know in some cases, they very much felt like that wasn't the case. My fear took the front seat in a lot of those situations. And if I had it to do over again, I would still have very much wanted to create cushion around my child or my children. But I think that knowing that it's not possible to really control it, right, would have helped take the fear out of the driver's seat. And that would have been a really beneficial thing. So I encourage those of you who are the parents of teenagers and who deeply want to control things to create clear guidelines, clear natural consequence, but to make sure that you're mindful of your own desire to be hyper vigilant, controlling, right, and overprotective, because we don't want our kids to experience those things. But the truth of the matter is, things are going to happen sometimes. And it's much more important that they know that you are in their corner, even if in the moment they can't necessarily see that, because again, brain development and all their peers are telling them that you're not in their corner. But it's important that you're there and that they know that. So number 3 is not sharing the load. Okay. Number 3 is a really, really interesting and complicated one. I work with a lot of people to help them get help from their husbands or their partners in their house with managing the housework and taking care of the kids and doing all of that. So one of the things I do a lot of is help people get their household more under control so that they have more time and more energy and more space to pursue their needs and to have clarity in their lives and to have peace in their lives, right? And I think this is the most talked about thing, period. Okay. So here's the deal. We actually model load sharing, not just physical load sharing, but mental load sharing. And I think that this is a really important thing that a lot of us are really unaware of as parents. And I know I was when I was younger. I am watching my daughters, who are now moms, try to do it all. Right? Try to do it all. You know, the cooking, the shopping, the cleaning, the childcare. One of my daughters is actually in school for her master's degree and has a job. I'm watching them do it all. All right. And their partners are absolutely willing to help. Okay. Their partners are absolutely not resistant to helping, but they also grew up in homes where mom, okay, primary parent, handled all of the mental load stuff. And for that reason, a lot of times what you see is that our partners, okay, don't realize, and a lot of times these are on gender lines, right? Men don't realize that what goes into taking care of a house, right? So they need to be asked. Like, you have to actually say, the rug needs to be vacuumed, as if they cannot see that your child crushed goldfish into the rug today, right? It's actually because of the way that mental load is modeled. And what I mean by that is, growing up, their primary parent, usually the mom, the identified as female parent, was the one that would manage the house stuff, right? She was the one who handled who does what chores and when they get done, and reminded everyone of what to do and made the plan for the meals and all of that. Right. So it was modeled, even if dad helped in the house, it was modeled that mom's job was to mentally manage the house. This is actually a generational curse that is creating a significant breakdown in family structure, and it is creating incredible mental health problems, especially for women who are trying to do it all and juggle it all. This is causing extreme burnout. To prevent this from happening with your children, it's really, really important that the parents in the household have, where is a dual parent household, have a conversation about who is responsible for noticing what and taking care of what, and what all those mental load steps are, and that both parents are engaged in modeling to the children that they have the mental responsibility for things in the house. Now, that means that, for example, in my household now, it is my husband's job to do the laundry. He does the laundry. I don't even think about laundry. He handles it. Okay. It's very, very important that also, as one of our kids is coming home in the summer, for example, right? It's not me who reminds our college age child that laundry's getting done on Thursday and they need to pick a different day to do their laundry this week. That's my husband's job. I handle nothing related to the laundry or the laundry room, not mine. In this way, he models to our child that it is his job to mentally manage what's happening with the laundry. It's his job. He's the one who gets told if we're running low on laundry soap, for example. He's the one who makes sure that there isn't I'm planning on doing laundry the same day as you are, right? So he's the one who makes sure that our youngest washes the towels that got used that week by them, right? So he's the one who follows up on that. I do not follow up on laundry. In that way, he models that he has the mental load for all things related to laundry. That's a big deal, y'all. I'm going to let that just sink in, because that is a big deal. That's not something that we did with our kids when they were younger. So what we have noticed is that even though our sons will absolutely help, they will 100% help any day of the week. They will even offer to help with certain things. Oftentimes, they don't notice the things that our daughters do, right? They don't notice the things that their other siblings do. And so it's a really interesting thing that we have seen happen in our family structure, that this is actually what happens. One of my daughters, actually, when she comes over for dinner to our house, we have family dinner once a week to once every other week. And she always notices, oh, the table needs to be cleared, or the dressing is still sitting on the table and that still needs to be put away. She always notices that. Even though she has a 4-year-old she's chasing around, she always notices. But I will tell you this, I have to say it, right? I would have to say that to get my sons to notice. It's not because they weren't raised to help. It's because they weren't raised to notice. And for this reason, my husband and I have made a conscientious effort that I'm not the one who says it anymore. My husband says, hey, can you grab that off the table? Because he wants them to recognize that this isn't just mom's job. All right. Number 4 is a really, really touchy-feely one, and I want to make sure that I talk about this in a really careful way, because I know that this is hard for a lot of people, especially people who practice gentle parenting. My children's whole lives, it was really important to me to pour positive self-image into my kids. I did not have that growing up. I had a lot of criticism, a lot of shaming, a lot of, jokes at my expense, a lot of emotional abuse and verbal abuse growing up. And so this was really problematic for me. And I really, really believed that if I spoke kindly to my kids and I told them great things about themselves and I filled that bucket for them, that they would not struggle so much with negative self-talk or limiting beliefs. Haha, was I wrong? So I have seen this play out in all five of my children's lives that they really struggle with negative self talk and limiting beliefs. And I'm shocked because basically every single day of their little lives, it was very pointed for both my husband and I to tell our kids how amazing they were and how proud we are of them and how kind they are and how capable they are and how smart they are and how funny they are, right? Like we made such a huge effort to consistently be filling that cup of positivity about them, okay, and to really minimize the way that we spoke about behaviors that we were not fans of or behaviors that weren't really serving them, right? You can tell just by the way I said that we were really mindful of it. So we did not use terms like you're good, you're bad, things like that, because we didn't want our children to merge those ideas, right? If something goes wrong, I'm a bad person. And if I make a mistake, I'm bad. But what I have noticed is that my adult children struggle with negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. Now, listen, not in the same way I do, not in the same way I have, partly because my children do have a safe space, right? They have people that are still feeding into the truth, right, of who they are, of how amazing they are. And so they actually know that they have some reinforcement, not that they always want it, that is not true. Where growing up, I didn't really feel that I had reinforcement. I very much spent basically my entire life relatively sure that if I said, do you think I'm a, lazy waste of space, that most of the people in my life would say, you sure are. And so I didn't really have a space to safely go and get any kind of real nourishment, right? My kids have that. But what my kids saw, this is so important in this area. We think about this all the time. We think about this with smoking and drinking and drug use and every other, right? You always say, well, it's not about what you tell your kids. It's about what you show your kids. Okay. And it's the same thing with negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. So I spent so much time making sure that I was pushing positivity into my children, speaking positivity and uplifting and inspirational and encouraging words to my children at all times. And at the same time, I was beating the living daylights out of myself. I was just horribly self-abusive. Horribly self-abusive. And so my children learned from me, they learned from the media, they learned from the world that you are supposed to have negative self-talk and limiting beliefs, that is actually part of the human experience, that you're supposed to feel that you're supposed to struggle with poor self-esteem, that you're supposed to struggle with confidence, right? They saw me do that. They saw me say, what's wrong with you? You're so clumsy. Why did you drop that? You just screw everything up. Now, I'm not saying this to them. I was saying this to myself. Okay. And when your kids hear you saying this to yourself, when they hear you treating yourself, or they see you treating yourself in this way, it becomes normalized to them, right? This is just what moms do. This is just what people do. This is just what grown-ups do, right? I don't want that to be normalized for my kids. Okay. It is definitely a work in progress, as all of these things are for my kids. And I just want you to know about it, because when we're doing the work to heal ourselves, when we're doing the work to do the affirmations and to do the positive self-talk and right, when we're doing those things, they take time and they take energy. And a lot of times we feel guilty about the time and energy we're spending on that, right? But I want to make sure that you know that doing that is a gift for your child, because it will enable you to model better self-relationship to them. So hopefully, as they grow up, they will have a better relationship with themselves. And number 5, which ties right into this, is that I did not take the time or the energy especially when my kids were young, to take care of myself, to um, to really live in my own identity authentically, to pursue my own goals or interests. I was extremely self-sacrificing, to the point of being, pretty much full on martyr most of the time. And because of that, I really modeled to my children that having children means, um, basically you no longer exist or matter in certain ways. And it's not that my children, believe me, they are loving, wonderful kids towards me. It's the way that they sideline themselves with their own children, the way that they have to justify the things that they're interested in as being good for their kids, or they can't do it. Meaning, if this has a direct benefit for my child, then I will do it. Otherwise, right, it's a no. Now, most of the things that you will do to to stay connected to your identity and to show up authentically and to pursue your goals and to self-actualize and become more self-aware and to love yourself more and to take care of yourself actually are profoundly beneficial to your children because of the modeling, right? But in the moment, they might not feel like they're helping your kid. Okay. Do them anyways. In the long run, the payoff is profound. Do them anyways. So I highly encourage you to find something for you, right, to do today, whether it is working on your own self-image through journaling or affirmations, or being honest and giving yourself time to process your own feelings, or taking a step back, okay, from your own fears and hypervigilance and need to control what your children is doing, or giving something over fully to your partner. Okay. I encourage you to fill yourself up and to take better care of yourself, because one of the biggest generational curses that we pass on to our children is the fact that we model to them that as grown-ups, we don't deserve our own love, our own time, our own attention. And y'all, that's a big mistake. That's a huge generational curse. So be sure to take the time to model to your children the kind of adult you hope that they'll be. And that means pursuing your dreams, filling yourself up. That means your kids seeing you thrive, seeing you thrive. Okay. And so I want you to just be a little bit more mindful of that. I wish that I knew then what I know now, because I would have had a much more peaceful and happy life, and let go of a lot of the stress and overwhelm. And B, I would have been able to model self-love and self-compassion to my children in a way that, y'all, I just didn't. I didn't. Teach your kids to be their number one priority throughout their lives, because they need to be, and you need to be too. You are amazing and you deserve to live the life you've been dreaming of. I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video if you want more information about how to better manage your life and how to actually make the space for you and your dreams so you can accomplish your goals. Bye, everyone.